Yeah, I think that, kind of everyone has their own way of kind of dealing with the pressure, and I think the biggest thing is just, just trying to elevate your game. It's a fun time of year, and, to be able to go out there and compete at the highest level and understand that there's a lot of teams that would want to be there, and, you work all year to get to that point. So I think just trying to elevate your game. I think the guys you mentioned were very good at that, when they were in the playoffs. So, with the intensity, with everything that comes with it, I think just trying to elevate your game.
You guys said that Friday night maybe you got up in front of everybody and said something. Can you just kind of talk about your own assertiveness, or maybe with you, Gino, Fleury, guys who have been here, and the sense of urgency you guys felt this season?
As far as sense of urgency, I think that, every year it's important to win, and obviously the expectations are high on us. I think that, we definitely made it a little closer than we would have liked down the stretch, but it doesn't matter at this point. We're all starting fresh here, and like I said, I think that with those expectations, it's easy to get caught up in them, but it's also very tough to get in the playoffs. So once you're there, you want to make the most of it, and it's a grind and roller coaster emotionally and physically, but it's the best time of year to be playing.
Sid, what sticks out last year, the way that series turned so drastically? What sticks out about what they did that gave you guys trouble, that you guys have to deal with mostly?
All the games seemed pretty similar. I mean, the margin for error is pretty small when you're talking about the playoffs. One mistake here and there is a pretty big difference. But, it seemed like as the series went on, they were able to get a little bit more momentum, extended shifts, stuff like that, where they were able to, really get extended periods of time where either we didn't get enough in zone, or they're able to get power plays and stuff like that, stuff that they were really able to build on. So that's going to happen in the playoffs. You're going to have kind of ups and downs throughout the game, and they're going to generate momentum. But I think later on in that series, we didn't do a good enough job of just finding ways to grab it back, whether it be, with a power play goal or a big shift where you get extended time and draw a penalty, something like that. But just, being able to kind of handle that momentum and make sure that you get it back is pretty important. You don't want to give them a lot of opportunities and get back on your heels. Give them that confidence to create things out there.
Sid, I won't call you old like Josh, but you have been in this situation getting ready to go into the playoffs many times before. Because of the way the team struggled a bit in the stretch run and getting in at the last minute, do you feel any different now in terms of turning the page from the regular season to the playoffs than you have in past years?
It's a different way of getting in. I feel like we've been fighting here for a while. It doesn't feel like we were able to just kind of coast in and count the games down. Just, usually at different points, I feel like we were just trying to stay healthy and avoid injuries at that point. And I think this year was a little different. We had to fight, and we were missing a lot of guys, things like that. So it's definitely a different feeling going in, but not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like it's kind of an extension of what our last couple of weeks have been like. So in a way, we only had to get, maybe 1 or 2 wins kind of point-wise, but it feels like for the last week and a half, we've already been in the playoffs.
Hey, Sid, of the systemic changes that Johnston and his staff made with you guys this year, do you think they have prepared you to handle adversity in the playoffs a little bit better, particularly, focusing on defense with your game a little bit more?
It's tough. I think that, as far as handling adversity, I think, as far as your system goes, I think it's more to do mentally, how you're going to react to certain things. Like I said, the momentum and, the shifts in games, how you deal with that. And if you're able to recognize it and get it back quickly, game to game adjusting, we'll see if we do a better job of that. I think, last year when you look at, them being able to put 3 wins together, late in the series, that's something that, you don't want to give them an opportunity to do again. So, just being aware of those things, I think, is important. But as far as our system goes, I think it's only as good as you execute. So I think it's going to be up to us to make sure that we execute well in whatever that system is, whether it was, last year's way or this year's way, I guess you could say. It all comes down to executing.
Sid, how tough has it been playing with 5 defensemen And what are the challenges there? And having a sixth, even though it might be someone who's inexperienced, how much is that going to help?
It'll be nice. I know for the D especially, that's not easy. That's a really difficult task, and back-to-back nights like we had at the end of the year, that's really tough. And I think the biggest challenge is, when you're looking at the way we play too, our D like to join the rush, and when you have 5, it kind of takes that element away a little bit. They have to be a little bit more smarter when they join the rush. When they don't, they're kind of conserving energy at the same time, trying to play the same way. So it's kind of that inner battle you have there. So getting that 6th guy, I think, will help us just be able to kind of get back to that normalcy with our D being able to help out in the rush and generate more that way too.
Sid, you guys have struggled to score goals in the last month or 6 weeks, and you're playing a team that has one of the best goaltenders in hockey and maybe the best blue line in hockey. Sounds daunting on the surface. What do you guys have to do, and maybe you specifically, to create more offense against a team as good defensively as this?
Well, it's no secret this time of year. I mean, you're going to have to really fight to get to the front of the net, and when any team you're playing at this point is going to have good goaltending. You don't get this far without it. So. Specifically, I think just make sure you're ready to compete in front of the net. I think as far as, goals, you look at special teams, power play is going to be big. You get them a man down, you got to take advantage of that and get the momentum and find ways to score that way. So, but I think just your typical ways you'd see in the playoffs, and hopefully that's not a big adjustment. We've been fighting pretty hard the last week or two, and I think we've been pretty good as far as generating some really good chances and being around the net. So hopefully we don't have to change too much there, and hopefully we'll see some more pucks go in.
Sid, specifically, and kind of piggybacking off of that, did you go back and did you look at much what happened last year? You were matched up against Mark Stahl a lot. Do you go back and review that stuff and watch what he did to you or tried to do to you and figure out ways so you can exploit that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have to go back to it. I have a pretty good idea. I mean, playing 7 games against a team, it's pretty fresh in your mind, and not even necessarily for the playoffs, but you're already thinking this regular season if they're probably going to play the same way. So I think I saw a lot of similarities in the way they played against me in the playoffs, and obviously I'm sure they'll continue the same type of thing. So just having a good understanding of that is important, but I don't want to change too much. I think I believe in what I do out there, and if there's little adjustments I have to make, I'll make them. But I think you just really have to be ready to compete. I mean, he's going to try to make things tough, just like a lot of defensemen try to do in the playoffs. So just understanding that, getting ready to compete, and every shift trying to create something.